We welcome in a writer from the 9 newsletter and Forbes.com as well, Howard Megdal. Howard, good to see you. Good to chat with you a little bit about this. And this story it's so disturbing on so many levels. But what area concerns you most right now?
I think the real issue is that we've seen time and time again the reporting mechanism not leading to a real change or even accountability. I mean, when you look at what their conversation was about Paul Riley, this was reported in 2015. It was reported again several years later, and he still continued to get jobs. And so that's the bigger concern to me is, how are these things going to be fixed going forward?
This was before the current commissioner was the commissioner. So at some point, does the reckoning have to come down on the former administration?
Clearly, the former administration was a problem, but the bigger issue, and Meg's piece was really significant over at The Athletic writing about this, was the fact that this was raised to the current commissioner in 2021. And so again, it comes back to what can be done for enforcement moving forward.
Okay, so if it is an enforcement issue, how does a guy, after an investigation that forces him out of a job, an investigation of this manner clearly intimated that he was in the wrong or that there was something that clearly he stepped over the bounds with, how is he even still allowed to be a head coach or a coach of any magnitude in this league?
It comes down to a question of transparency. If there is a lack of transparency, then there's no public reckoning for it, and there's no possible outcome other than him getting further opportunities as ownership of different teams allow it to happen. And so I think, and it's critical, I wrote about this today over at Forbes, the fact that the Players Association is working as a collective. That is a relatively new thing. The Players Association is negotiating what would be the first ever CBA in the National Women's Soccer League. And having that sort of collective lack of acceptance differs from a player or two players speaking out individually. And I think that's part of why we're seeing, for instance, the players not playing this weekend, because they're acting as a group.
These players were also very fearful of the ramifications of what this would have on the league. Do the other athletes in the league feel the same way?
There is a real worry that has gone through the history of women's soccer, in part because previous leagues have faltered for financial reasons. And to me, as odd as it sounds about a moment like this, it speaks to the strength of the league. We're seeing, right on CBS, you're seeing ratings go up significantly in terms of people who are watching the league. You're seeing more and more sponsors come into the league. And with that power comes both a greater responsibility and an ability to be able to say, no, these types of compromises are no longer tenable.
You speak to players every day. What kind of a reaction have you gotten from them over the past couple of days?
There's a sadness. There's an understanding that things happened over and over again, maybe worse than even some realized. But there's also a real feeling of relief, this opportunity to know that this can be publicly reckoned with. I think matters a lot to players who have had to keep quiet by their own beliefs for a really long time.
And how would the players want this to be resolved?
A zero tolerance policy. I mean, this is not anything any different than what we would experience in our own workplaces, right? That you read the details, the particulars of a story like this, they wouldn't be accepted anywhere in a corporate manner on a regular basis or even once. And so zero tolerance is the way forward.
Is that what they're hoping to get out of a weekend of games being postponed?
It's not just a weekend, though. It's worth keeping in mind. This is in the midst of a collective bargaining agreement talk, right? So this is going to be part of what is now negotiated going forward. And so there is an opportunity beyond even just the weekend to have a chance for both sides to get together and say, look, this is a new way forward. And the league is going to have to listen because the players are speaking with a single collective voice now.
Howard Megdal, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.